Hi there. Welcome to Progressive Alternative with Victor Monjares. I'm Victor Monjares. It's been a while. Been working a lot outside with my father and a bunch of projects out there and just really getting everything settled in. Probably going to make up for that for every week that I basically missed with basically a set of videos tonight and basically just really working up everything else out there and making a difference. One of them will be about what I did with that stimulus check that basically everyone was buzzing around about. And so, but today on this one, this specific one, I'm basically talking about predictions for AEW Double or Nothing. Basically, it's the wrestling company that's basically new and really starting to become a little bit more of a rival against WWE right down there. I love 205 Live, although now they just basically more condensed it to more of a third hand brand. Nothing really much worth noting about, though they do have the Cruiserweight, their actual title that's supposed to be representing now on NXT, which is kind of like their third brand, even though it's supposed to be more symbolizing of their development. It's really not much of a standing out hold there. And it's less 205 live material because obviously they can't really afford to do much live programming anymore. But anyway, with AEW, it's basically much more of a competitive company down there, which also is based nearby Jacksonville, Florida, because due to the circumstances that we have with this virus crisis, they have to basically stay in their facility there. Although what's very amazing about AEW is that they at least allow their own employees there to actually, make it more lively there. Now, hopefully they are getting all the testings and making sure that everyone's staying sanitary and doesn't really get down with that virus. And basically anyone that does have a situation arising to them that they cannot perform or cannot be anywhere in their attendance. Hopefully, they are still being paid. Not only the wrestlers there, but also the people who are working the cameras and working with the stage props. Everything sort out there. That way, it's a successful programming there. So, what do we have with AEW Double or Nothing, which is basically their first pay per view programming that they have to do during these circumstances. So it is kind of hard to do. So might not even get it myself. I won't probably get it because I have to see if they have like a good deal with the Bleacher Report or the pay per view. Because obviously, what I did with my check, yeah, I might have to kind of scale back there. Though I might actually, if it's for a very good cause, especially to help out with the healthcare workers there or any situations, or even to help out the independent wrestling association in that type of essence. If they just announced that, my goodness, that would actually be very wonderful for AEW to do. There's something better than WWE not doing basically very well with this whole situation. But any other essence, basically going to follow it around with my friends or out there on Twitter or any other social media outlet, knowing with what is out there, and hopefully it's a very fantastic show with what they're going to have to do with the circumstances. So we start in with the buy-in, basically free and basically on YouTube or Bleacher Report. They also have a streaming site. Yes, they do. It's Private Party versus the Best Friends. They also not so sure if they are going to have Orange Cassidy there because he's basically going to be competing in the Casino ladder match. But it's going to be just this for the contendership for the AEW Tag Team Championships. The Tag Team Championships will not be defended on this night unless they do like an instant turn there because the tag team champions are going to be competing in a different match later on tonight. But most likely it's not. It's probably be a future world title shot. Yeah, they're basically, it's most likely going to be with the Best Friends since they're going to basically give the people what they want. And that whole montage was just basically Orange Cassidy basically being more hyped up there alongside there. Private Party has been pretty well winning much more matches than they've had, but unfortunately they've only been like in dark matches, and it's not really well accounted to try to hype up a particular brand with tag team wrestling. It would be wonderful to see Private Party basically win out there and get a title shot. Really make it much more meaningful for such a talented tag team. Best Friends are quite alright, although I would think Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian would be a better tag team to go for the titles, even though they are kind of a McShafe team. McShafe, basically, that they're not really totally a team together. That makes sense. But they have told some very well interesting stories in the past. But we are what we are right now in this current situation. So Best Friends was the victory. Try to see if they can make something out of it down the road. And so we get to the rest of the card, which apparently should be, everything else should be on the pay-per-view. And with all these matches, they're quite wonderfully made for it. MJF taking on Jungle Boy. I don't think this is actually going to open the show, but definitely it would be one where basically MJF makes his glorious return as he's supposed to be the best, and Jungle Boy basically trying to prove himself that he can actually be something more of a single star than basically being a tag team with Luchasaurus and of course Marco Stunt, which I can't really believe him. In Marco Stunt, I can't believe that dude as an actual wrestler. Barely any of the moves he can really pull off, so that's a little bit. I don't hate him, but it's like, yeah, he is the weakest link. Goodbye. But yes, MJF definitely a win. He came back from injury. He's already got like a couple of wins. He'll have to keep that stripe going, especially because he was the one that beat Cody Rhodes. I can say Rhodes. That's his name. And you want to keep that heel persona up for basically another confrontation, maybe someone else who maybe comes close to that casino ladder match. Very impressive to take him on and really have a huge pop. Maybe to take on Warlow next, or maybe on another cage match if they ever decide to do any of those things again. We get back to that. Penelope Ford taking on Chris Statlander. Penelope Ford wasn't originally supposed to be in this, but Britt Baker, who fought in that tag team match this past Wednesday on Dynamite, most likely suffered a major injury. Not so sure what injury that is, though she did focus a lot on her knee. I might have to watch that again, but really, and it really looked legit because that wasn't really part of the whole platform there, and they kept going on afterward. That whole situation building up to it. So really, Penelope Ford is not just put in there just to basically be a pretty face there too. She is blonde, but thankfully in this company they don't always favor blondes just for their looks. She actually really can move and really can tell a good enough story and really be more than just being a boyfriend of Kip Sabian, who, this type of couple that's just kind of laid back, almost a surfer vibe, but more just being a cool dude with shades on. But yeah, Penelope Ford really, and Chris really can make it really amazing outline there. And Chris Statlander, it's a okay character, though I do respect that she can really make it work and that she really can provide a good storytelling. These two will probably steal the match because it's just gonna come out of nowhere. Hopefully they're given a lot of time than as much as they should Britt Baker, who's a dentist, by the way. I don't know if they're gonna have to insert that into us, but at least maybe not more than 20 times during the pay-per-view. But it's just basically going to be a mountain of just good working wrestling moves out there. Definitely, but Chris Statlander is going to get the victory. She still has much more because she is basically in the top 4 of the AEW women's basically picture. They always have those standings there. They don't do those much more on YouTube anymore, but they do like to remind us on Dark and Dynamite. So, but Penelope Ford can take a loss here. She can easily get more wins on Dark and a little bit more tag team wins on Dynamite. And that's definitely something that has a good future. I wouldn't be angry with Penelope Ford winning here either. So, but definitely, hopefully, Britt Baker's can come back and really create a lot more infusion with a lot of the women's division because it is outstanding. We'll get to the women's championship match later. Then next up, and hopefully maybe this would be the next one up, we get to the, let's go to the Casino Ladder match. There would be Darby Allen, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Rey Fenix, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, and Luchasaurus. There was a little bit of an influence, of course, with Chris Danliner winning because, oh yeah, is Kip going to be there? And most likely not going to be there because he's going to have to be repaired for this Casino Ladder match. If Penelope Ford wins it, basically it would be a huge boost, but he's probably not going to win. Either situation, he's not going to win this whole ladder match. But basically, you can draw out a bunch of Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian. Usually, tag teams, if there's a single member of a tag team, they usually don't win a huge match like this. Because definitely it would always create bad vibes between each other or just basically, it just wouldn't make sense in the long run if they basically use all of that opportunity for a world championship match. And, oh yes, there is a mystery competitor. So they keep thinking it's Pac, but the whole traveling restrictions, even though they're hyping it as much, he's travel restrictions. That's not a real thing you can easily get over. And, by the way, Pac is partners with Rey Fenix. So that basically is going to be a backlash against the whole tag team mentality that they usually don't win these things. Although with AEW, it's quite different from WWE. So, of course, they could put a swerve on that. Sorry, I mentioned that. Colt Cabana could be quite a compelling, because he needs something very significant because he was brought in to be very charismatic, always just so full of energy. And just really appealing to the crowd, and just those wrestling moves are amazing. Orange Cassidy not gonna have to because he apparently gonna have to try very hard, and that's something you can't really do in a ladder match. Luchasaurus, if it's very very compelling, usually big men don't win these type of matches, but it's not impossible. He would have to build himself a little bit more, especially if that whole Jungle Boy and MJF's matchup really leads into that feud keeps going. He's gonna have to be kind of focus on that. And Darby Allen, basically their Sting of that of that company, is basically quite the front runner there. Just knowing to do everything well. I hear so much amazing things about Darby Allen. I wanted to get that face mask that they were selling on the AEW store, but they were sold out. He is just a star. And so it would have to be coming down to Darby Allen or Colt Cabana. That would be a very interesting. It's not going to be the mystery, unless it's somebody that was recently released from WWE. That basically just comes out and really makes an impact and can actually be lifted up to there, because they've already kind of lifted one person released from that company into a world title match. What makes you think that they might actually do it again? It definitely would have to, but of course the AEW World Championship is actually the main event because they announced that on their road to kind of like their own thing that they do for like 24/7 thing that they do on HBO, but on TNT. So if that world title match happened before and we got to see the results, whether it was very positive or not, we could have had a different outcome with the whole situation with someone getting signed there. So gonna have to go with you gotta go with Darby Allen. He's gotta win something significant to keep that star energy rising up there. Colt Cabana can really make a great impact there, but he can keep going with basically really winning a good streak, but never really getting to the title picture. He would get to the title picture against Jon Moxley. My goodness, that would be quite a matchup, but probably have to do that later on, and definitely want to do that with an audience. That would just be quite money, especially if they go back to Chicago once this crisis full is over. Hopefully soon. So then we have now we want to get Dustin Rhodes taking on Shawn Spears. Maybe that's something I would like to book. It's like, yeah, you want to have this match, maybe calm down things a bit there. Rhodes taking on Spears. You want to have a particular sense, because there was that whole confusion of, oh yeah, that Dustin Rhodes actually lost in that whole TNT Championship bracket, that he would retire. He beat Kip Sabian, so he was going to stay there, but then of course he lost to Lance Archer. We'll get to him later. And they thought, oh yeah, is he retiring? No, he really specifically said if he couldn't beat this kid, which of course he meant Kip Sabian, he would retire. So that loss to Lance Archer didn't really mean as much. I mean, he probably kind of knew we kind of needed a whole heel versus face persona in that championship round. But yes, with obviously Shawn Spears kind of took that as like, oh yeah, you didn't really mean that, and the whole him with this heel vibe, and him kind of naming himself as the company chairman or the chairman really would provide this type of vibe of here. I think with this type of matchup, it would have to be quite good vibes there. Can't last more than 20 minutes. No, more than 15. That's being generous. But really showing off Shawn Spears as quite a good mid-card appeal there. And just, I think you got to give it to... You want to give it to Dustin Rhodes, because you're going to have to keep compelling him to be that he's relevant. If he's going to take some time off of this match to really to heal up his wounds and obviously promote the younger dudes, if that's the whole vibe there with AEW, because I want to believe that's basically the case, you want Shawn Spears to win, because his overall record's kind of still a losing record. So, and if he's still being a viable candidate there, though, I think if you really because one of the Cody or the Rhodes brothers has to win in order to keep the company basically that they started into a viable position, unless they really work it pretty well and really have a convincing story. You have to really pull something off. Shawn Spears with a heelish move could win, and that could work. Something that creates a little bit of doubt in a heelish win. Only that would be the only situation where Shawn Spears would win. Then you would have the AEW Women's Championship. I wish this was main event, but unfortunately it's not. It's a no DQ, no disqualification matchup. Kind of makes sense because you kind of run yourself in a corner, because you should have actually had Nyla Rose as your first champion. But of course, Riho wasn't terrible, but she wasn't able to carry it as much as well as they wanted her to. And Nyla Rose has been carrying herself pretty amazingly, especially with the whole LGBT background. It's quite compelling, and just really showing her that she can really work a crowd. Even with that lack of crowd, she is quite stunning with her character work and basically her abilities. And of course, Hikaru Shida, my goodness, just love her so much. Her story, her everything that she can do very well, singing, acting, and just wrestling, that's really the whole anime thing where, oh yeah, she could do it all, and there's a very compelling sad story side to her. And hopefully they booked this match pretty amazingly well. Give these women at least, I want to say 18 minutes. At least 18 minutes. Let them do almost everything possible. The kendo stick, tables, not a ladder, of course, because all the ladders will be used after that casino ladder match, and maybe work the crowd there, and then have something that's just dauntingly well done there. And because I love both of these women, you want to pull the you gotta give Sheeta. Sheeta, you gotta give Sheeta, and here's why. Sheeta would actually. I know that. Oh yeah, it would have been a wonderful rampage and maybe keep the story along more with Nyla Rose, but you've been building up pretty well with Sheeta. Really coming up with these wins and really going to the top of the contendership. She's pretty bashful. She's what basically the company needs to really exceed. And so, with Nyla Rose, she would still be tremendous. If she keeps continuing her reign, that would be wonderful there. But of course, no DQ, no countouts. That basically you have to, at least in the essence, give that to Sheeta. I mean, those elements. Although that could be a very compelling notion that, oh yeah, you couldn't beat me straight up. You could, if Nyla Rose wins, you can come back to this feud like months later, and once we have the crowds back again, people will pop. No doubt. So then the Elite taking on the Inner Circle Stadium Stampede match. This will probably be a. I don't think they should go into the cinematic wrestling component, and I don't think they have that much in their budget to do something of that sort. Though I think there'll probably be some segments of it that will probably go into some cinematic wrestling there, especially up in the stands. And there won't actually be people, but they'll probably have them blow up dolls because that's how Chris Jericho and all those filthy minds will have to do in order to keep it entertaining. And just like especially with all the news about some sports leagues actually coming back, and they just put in these mannequins, and even one of them, the Korean league, had the sex dolls in there, and my goodness, please do that. Oh my god, that would be very compelling. I know it would be stupid, but it's their brand, and it's like it was the Inner Circle. They're kind of those type of cheap, just like making fun of everything naughty and just uncensored there. And it's like that would be kind of almost worth the price. But of course, with and the Elite basically componing with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, who are the current AEW tag team champions, with Matt Hardy and the Young Bucks. Matt Hardy, yeah, he can't really move anymore. Unfortunately, he cannot move. You would have to do a lot of cinematic things there, especially maybe the reincarnation of Vanguard 1. That would be quite entertaining. Again, I'm not expecting this to be classic or anything, even though they probably want to make history with fighting all over the stadium that the Jacksonville Jaguars will play in. Hopefully that's not the only good thing that the Jacksonville Jaguars have in that stadium. I'm sorry to my friend Trevor, who's a Jaguars fan down there. Just like that's probably going to be the most exciting thing, unless Gardner Minshew really becomes the next best thing, and they have a good offensive line and good offensive schemes. But the winner should be the Elite, but it actually should be the Inner Circle, but it'll probably be the Elite. You got to actually give them some wins on that side, and of course you'll probably give Matt Hardy a win because he probably still needs a major victory on a pay-per-view to just stick it up to that other company. And of course, just to because you just brought back Young Bucks and Page from basically their own off series or their injuries, and they'll probably give them the edge there. And although that lasting image in the in Dynamite may come back and bite them, Page probably won't turn, even though he kind of signifies that. Not on that match. But he will when they have to basically take on either the Best Friends or Private Party. Most likely. And then the TNT Championship, their TV title basically. Cody taking on Lance Archer for that championship. Lance Archer, he's got to win it. He's got to build up this whole monster persona. And I know that it would kind of suck for Cody not to win anything. He can still go back to that AEW Championship, World Championship spot, because that was only affecting Chris Jericho whenever he had it. As long as he had the title reign, he could never compete for it. Cody could never compete for it. But now it's Jon Moxley. He could compete for the AEW Championship again, and it would actually make sense. He doesn't need the TNT Championship. He will still be Cody Rhodes, which I call him. He can still carry that name recognition, focus on building up more young stars. Lance Archer would do it, and especially with Jake the Snake Roberts basically helping him out there, and just they could basically be quite apart and not have to really rely on each other to really build each other up. But at least, hey, at least they're respecting managers again and really letting that persona and just good old fashioned wrestling there in that aspect. Will it be a good, compelling wrestling match? Oh yeah, both are amazing workers. I've heard a lot about Lance Archer really being this dominant monster, especially in New Japan Wrestling. Very amazing, and I do not doubt that this will be a great match. Not the most fantastic match. Probably won't be the match of the night. That will probably go to Shida and Nyla Rose. I would definitely love that to happen, no matter how it goes. Just let them have at least 18 minutes. That Sheeta and Rose, with Cody and Lance Archer, they'll probably get more than 25 minutes. Of course, men, name recognition. You have those two legends, Arn Anderson and Jake the Snake Roberts in ringside, and unfortunately, Brandy Rose. I don't know why she has to Brandy Rhodes. I don't know why she has to be there. I know it's the story that Roberts basically put the snake onto her and do all that brother stuff, but definitely it doesn't have to be that way. Unfortunately, it's gonna be that way. It'll probably bring it down just like half a grade. At least the match. Probably not the whole entire pay per view, but Lance Archer, you want to build it up. TNT, he can always show up for those nightly, and just let Cody compete for the World Championship later on. Especially if he has to, maybe it won't be against Moxley. Especially if someone else wins the title from Moxley after the Casino Battle Royale or Casino Ladder match. You could have that. And finally, the AEW World Championship. I kind of wish this wasn't main event, but it's unfortunately gonna with those with Brody Lee basically leading the Dark Order, which isn't the greatest gimmick, but he's making it work somewhat. They kind of got rid of like their top two figures in that order group. I guess maybe it has to do with health concerns, and at least Brody Lee is trying to build up 10, the one of their best wrestlers, dude, that was kind of having on a tear. And then of course Moxley basically just really masterfully just calling, he's like, he's gonna be your number sweet boy, and it's like, god, Moxley just is a great worker there. And it's just an amazing deathmatch wrestler, or basically of that type of sense of hardcore. And but of course this is going to be a straight up match, so, and he's trying to get his literally the title belt back because the Dark Order stole it. And of course, you're gonna have to lead a heel type of group there. Taking it off of Jon Moxley, though, would be too soon. You gotta still build it up. You still gotta let fans, hopefully when we get back with fans, relish that he won that title and be a fighting champion there in that stance. Kind of like I relate a lot more to him because, I go into this crazy mode and I still am able to fight out a good minute or two before almost passing out. Don't worry, I'm not to dashboard just like in critical condition, but obviously just like being a hard worker really means something, and Jon Moxley's gonna win this. It is kind of strange that they did build up Brody Lee to the world title match. Maybe there was something that originally was planned, but because it was this circumstances or the virus situation, they kind of had to do this, and it's a good experience. Definitely they'll be given a lot more time, being a lot more creativity with this, and it's going to be a pretty compelling show. So, agree or disagree? That's something for Double or Nothing. That was kind of my first wrestling prediction related show. So hopefully I can get a lot more AEW stuff. Maybe if they stop selling a bunch of things in black, I would actually get it. I'm a great person. Anyway, so alongside with the hair of mine, this has been Progressive Alternative with Victor Monjares. I'm Victor Monjares. Can't wait to see what the reaction is going to be out there this Saturday and beyond. Nailed it, as always.